understand what I'm about to tell you, you need to do something first. You need to believe in the impossible. Can you do that?
What do you desire that you can't have?
When I eat a brain, I get visions.
Don't ever come back to Gotham.
You have failed this city. Jesus, what kind of a preacher are you?
There's about a dozen ways that I could stop you right now. But I don't think I have to.
Now you should at least give a brother a moment to say something heroically clever.
In the future, my friends may not be heroes, but if we succeed, they will be remembered as legends.
Welcome to the DC TV report for the week ending Saturday, January 20th, 2018. I'm Edward O'Hare, nickname to be determined.
And I'm Sara Netzley, academic by day, freelance writer by night.
We're here to bring you recaps, news, and commentary for all live-action television shows based on DC Comics.
And we had 4 new episodes this week, including one brand spanking new show.
Yes, it's nice to be back. And we have a lot to talk about.
We do. We've had the luxury of time where we could just rant and chat and talk about our Oscar picks and whatnot. And now we're going to have to be disciplined, and I don't like it. I think we're going to record a 4-hour podcast, and you guys are just going to sit back and listen to it. Oh. It's going to happen.
Oh, right.
I hope your commutes are long and your traffic jams are stalled, because we got some things to say to you people.
Oh, I got to edit these things.
No editing. Leave it untouched.
All right. So, okay. Well, before we jump into the recaps, we do have a couple more emails this week.
Yes. Thank you for the love, the digital word love.
Yes. If you want to email us, it's dctv@wickedtheory.com.
We accept compliments. We accept questions.
Yeah.
I guess we accept criticism, but nobody's dared so far. So,
Don't tempt them. Don't tempt them. Please. Next thing we know, Frankie Mogwai is going to be on us. Gotham Lights joke. All right. So we had 3 emails from 2 different people. First one's from our buddy Thomas K. And he says, I'm a bit behind, but I'm enjoying DC TV report. Thanks for the CW seed info. You're welcome. He's looking forward to Black Lightning, and he wants to know why Legends is going to be held back for a few months.
That just seems to be the way the CW always treats Legends. They tend to, play it at slightly different times than the rest of the shows for whatever reason.
Yeah. It seems like, Supergirl's Monday, Flash is Tuesday, Arrow is Thursday now, and Legends is kind of, it goes back and forth. It was shaky time slide. It was on its own night last year, and then it went behind Flash for a while. Now it was behind Flash, and then it's moving back to Supergirl slot.
Yeah, I don't want to go as far as redheaded stepchild. Is that okay to say still? Or do we have ginger awareness that I shouldn't be? Stepchild awareness? You know what? I'm going to plow through this.
Fine. It's fine.
All right. In some ways it is kind of, and I don't know if it's because they pull cast members from so many of the different shows that you can kind of hop it around because you have such a mixed fan base for it. So you don't get used to, this is the day that this show is on. It's just sort of always been a hodgepodge. And so the running schedule is also a little bit of a hodgepodge. The other thing is the CW has said that they prefer to only have 4 of the DC superhero shows on at a given time. And I don't know why they chose to premiere Black Lightning when they did, but I think part of it is getting a spot cleared so you could have Black Lightning, so you don't have 5 superhero shows. That just overwhelms the schedule. And I think it's kind of nice actually, because it breaks it up a little bit. Imagine if you had all of those crammed together. It is kind of nice to take a superhero break.
Yeah.
It's a heresy, I know, to say that, but it just makes what you do have stand out, and it's not quite as cramped, but
yeah.
I don't know. I am already looking forward to it coming back though. I do like those characters very much.
Yeah. You want to slow down that IV drip. You don't want too much superhero at once, because then when they take it all away, you'll just be like, the DTs will be unbearable.
It'll be bad, man. You don't want the fire hose. You want the trickle.
All right, and our next one is from Dan, also known as Redbeard.
Oh my God, Dan, I'm so sorry I made the redheaded stepchild joke.
I'm sure he's fine with it. I've met the guy; he's very nice. But he says, "Hi, Ed and Sarah. Thanks for all the great content. Now that the DC TV shows are back, which next fringe racially insensitive super friends do you think will be added to the lineup? Samurai, Apache Chief, the Wonder Twins? What do you think?"
I think if I'm thinking like a network executive, 100% Samurai, because then you can just shoehorn in all the fight scenes that are a hodgepodge of all the different fight styles without any indication of the country of origin or the origin of the actor or the character playing that role.
Yeah.
Although for me, can you imagine a live action Wonder Twins? Oh my God. It would be amazing. The special effects would be horrible. That sibling relationship would be creepy. I so badly need this in my life.
I feel like you can only do that if Wes Anderson is involved.
The soundtrack would be just precious and tinkly and perfect.
Yeah. Now, if they do Samurai, because he basically wore like a green and orange bikini, do they go with the same costume?
God, I hope so. I have some casting suggestions.
He's also wondering why they changed Black Lightning from Black Vulcan. If you remember,
do you think is it a Star Trek thing? Do you think like they didn't want to confuse people?
No. Well, in the comics, the character was always Black Lightning, and it had much more of a blaxploitation influence. You know, just with his hair and his costume, it looked very, very 70s. And I think when they were doing Super Friends, when they created Black Vulcan, I think there might have been some kind of rights issue, where the creator didn't want to let go of him, or they wanted to make changes. So Black Vulcan's costume is much more generic. And it is a different character, even though he basically has the same powers. So with Black Lightning, they're drawing from the comics rather than the cartoon.
Okay.
What else? So many things to think about. Oh, in this, will we possibly see the return of Red Tornado or the Ray? Well, other than the CW animated series.
Well, my thought with the Ray is you don't cast Russell Tovey if you're not going to see him again. I know he's not super, super well known in America, but he's a pretty well known British actor. And I feel like you could have gotten anybody to voice him and to do a one-off guest star. So I hope we'll see him again. Ido, what's his name, as Red Tornado is a little less well known. So you should be able to get. Whether they'd bring him back again, I don't know. I didn't find the Red Tornado's episode of Supergirl particularly awesome, as I recall.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot to do with that character. It's also, because you have multiple Earths, like, he existed on Supergirl's world. We haven't seen the Red Tornado of the Flash and Arrow's universe. So I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do that. I wouldn't be surprised. With these shows, they bounce back around. I don't know if maybe they'll just bring the Ray back at the next crossover. Or he may even show up in Legends, depending on how Captain Cold makes his exit from that show. Or Citizen Cold, rather.
Yeah. So. I would love to see him. I worry about the Wave Rider being too full. We've talked about this before. It's hard to keep track of that many characters, but I enjoyed what I saw of the Ray. We talked about the CWC animated series. It was a little choppy, but again, I enjoyed what I saw of the Ray. So if they would like to bring him back, full-time recurring guest star, another one-off guest appearance, I would extremely welcome that.
Yeah, I'd be up for that too. So Dan concludes with, this was fun. I can send you lengthier things than on Twitter, but I send you Twitter responses because that's more in the moment stream of thought. Until next time, Shazam, Dan.
We appreciate both the short Twitter bursts and the longer thoughtful emails.
Yes. And he did send us another email. This is thanks for all the great content on a weekly basis, even when there isn't any content to review. This is where my second email comes this week comes into play. When the DC TV shows go into their summer hiatus, may I suggest some content? How about going back and watching old shows and cartoons based on DC books like Birds of Prey, Young Justice, Smallville, but that may be too much punishment, or Teen Titans Go? Just an idea to keep the great content. Till next time, Shazam, Dan.
I love those ideas, and I love having an excuse to go back and either rewatch some of those or watch those for the first time. Birds of Prey is something I just sort of missed, and I've always been a little sad about that. So, yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. My concern with a lot of those, I mean, when I was doing this as a the DC TV report in its initial run on the Wicked Theory podcast as mini episodes.
Back when you were a lone wolf, unencumbered with a partner, just riding the rails of America, just you and the wind. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Latching on for dear life. I was doing some retro picks, just picking random stuff in the summer because Bill told me I couldn't just do Preacher.
He's so mean. I mean, our executive producer is awesome.
Yes. No. I agree with him. I was picking some random stuff, but a lot of those shows are not available streaming. You have to purchase episodes on iTunes or Amazon. So, I don't know if we're gonna do if we would do a deep dive on the long form episode. I think I'd want to do something that's streaming. Smallville's on Hulu. Constantine is on CW Seed. I got to check out what more is out there. I'm hoping when that DC streaming service comes along that a lot of those shows will end up there.
That would make sense. I mean, they're going to need some content for it to entice people to subscribe. And I would think DC's back catalog would be about the best they could do with the DC streaming service. That seems logical. So.
Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, for the next couple months or so we'll have it, but come around summer we'll definitely be looking back at that again.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to picking out some fun things, and I don't know, I could see us opening it up even to audience suggestions if people have something they would like us to review. I think we'd welcome the input within reason. I don't really want to do all 86 seasons of Smallville, but we'll see.
All right. So, well, that's it for the emails. I think now it's time to dive straight into the recaps. You want to start off with Supergirl?
Absolutely. All right. Season 3, Episode 10, Legion of Superheroes. While in a coma, Kara hung out in her subconscious loft and chatted up Brainiac 5 while trying to figure out how to wake up. Rain flew around National City punishing criminals while Mon-El got cagey about letting the Legion help the DEO fight Rain. James and Lena waded through massive waves of awkwardness about how to tell Kara they kissed. And last minute reveal, Rain, recovered from her kryptonite poisoning, learned from the hologram in her fortress that she has friends to help her fight Supergirl, and Thomas Coville wants to help her.
Ooh.
So this to me felt like such great comic book fan service. This episode.
Yes.
That hero shot of the 3 Legionnaires putting on their flight rings. Did you get a little choked up and misty?
I mean, again, I don't even really like these characters in the comics, but you can't see that kind of moment and not get like a, oh my God, I can't believe you're seeing this.
I don't even read the comic book, and I was just like, this is so cool. I am so excited for the people who've read the comic. This is amazing.
Yeah. And I will say, out of the Legion stuff I've read, Brainiac 5 is probably my favorite character because he's like the closest to Spock. And they nailed him.
How did he live up to it? Good.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. He still looks weird. I still do not understand why they've styled him that way at all. But I really enjoyed his personality. I liked the introduction they gave to him. They wrote him really thoughtfully to introduce us to his character with just a couple of little throwaway lines and things. Sorry, insensitive, he says. And so you can tell he's been reprimanded by his friends before about, dude, you can't just say that. So I'm excited to see what else he does. I just wish his hair didn't look like that. Shallow. I'm sorry, world. I'm shallow.
Yeah. I mean, I think my favorite moments was when he kept saying, "Oh, buried the lead again.
Okay, can I just say the fact that you would have that expression in the 31st century as someone who is a professor of journalism makes me so happy that that has survived to the 31st century.
Yeah, and with Rain's story, we didn't really get much progress on that until like the very end of the episode. It just seems like, okay, she's a bad guy. Ruby doesn't know what's going on.
She reiterated her purpose. Mm-hmm. So we didn't learn anything new about her mission necessarily. I guess maybe her attacking the cops was taking it a step further. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't feel like she moved the needle all that much until, as you say, the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Not even 5 minutes, the last 30 seconds.
Yeah. And James and Lena in this episode.
Oh, I'm sorry, what? What?
Okay, all right. I'm glad you said it first. This was
that poor. How does he have so little chemistry with everybody? I don't understand it. He's a good-looking guy. I don't understand how you can put him next to every attractive woman in that cast, and there's just, it's like damp wood shavings on screen. There's nothing. That's so strange. And that actually, forget about James and Lena for a second. I was so annoyed with John this episode. John wouldn't do that. I'm sorry, you're covering for Kara, who is in a coma. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got to have some girl talk. Yeah, you've got to wear a robe. Her boss isn't looped in on the secret. Of course she's going to be like, where is Kara? So John's irritation at having to do that really rang false to me. He's impersonated her before and far, far better. He's impersonated her mother. He impersonated Hank for seasons. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. Am I overthinking this? They went for the cheap joke. That's my problem. Yeah. They went for the cheap joke at the expense of character and continuity.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is they wanted it to be funny and awkward. And, it kind of was, but you're right. It, from a continuity purpose, this kind of reminds me of episodes of Star Trek, the original series, where Dr. McCoy was as smart or as dumb as you needed him to be that episode. Mm-hmm. And
Supergirl kind of does this too with Kara is as strong or as weak as she mm-hmm. needs to be. I feel like this happens a little bit more with this show than other shows that we talk about on here.
Yeah, but it's also like, if you look at when John was Agent Noel Neal in the flashback episode a couple of weeks ago, and how natural and solid his acting was then.
Yeah, and in a really sensitive, delicate situation.
Yeah,
and then you look at him sitting like a dude and referring to him as Olsen as opposed to James. It was funny, but it didn't work.
Yeah, well, because maybe it was just like Melissa Benoist just wanted to do her John impression, because that's what it felt like, that she was just doing an impression of him.
Sure.
But yeah, something about that didn't feel right. Mon-El.
Yeah. Who knew he was such a Bon Jovi fan?
And when Imra finally went up to him and is like, we should help these people, were they still making out during half of that scene? I couldn't tell.
Actually, they kept it together pretty well this week. The 1 week Kara's in a coma, they did not spend it like attached to the lips. Very confusing. Very confusing. So what I liked about the Legion dynamic is we finally got to see Imra/Saturn Girl be super cool, right? We saw her encourage him to join the fight because it's the right thing to do. We saw her levitate and whip around plates from the weight set in the prison yard. I enjoyed that. We finally got to see her do something other than approach Kara and be like, I'm sorry I stole your boyfriend in the future. I didn't even tackle that accent. You're welcome, world. So I enjoyed that. But Mon-El, it was a little frustrating that he's the big hero. He's the leader, right?
Yeah.
But he's the one who had to be coaxed. I don't know. Mon-El has had kind of confusing character development over the last season.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I get that he's mission focused, but like, I think at this point he could have told them what the mission was earlier.
yeah. And I also like that little moment with Brainiac saying, careful, and indicating it's not just Mon-El who's making that choice, but Brainy also is going to call him on, you can't just tell everybody willy-nilly.
Mm-hmm.
But it just took a little too long for them to jumpstart. I did. Now, is that canonical from the comics, the extinction event that wipes out all of Earth's culture and knowledge and things like that?
Yes. Yeah, Superman was a legend. He's the only superhero that they knew about.
Okay.
And he was almost kind of like this mythic figure. And the reason the Legion goes back in time is that they actually first meet Superboy, because they wanted to find out whether or not Superman actually existed. And then they meet him, become friends with him, and they bring him back to the future, and he spends a whole lot of time. Because, there's some versions of the comics in the 70s where it's Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, and then Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes. He actually spends a couple of years fighting with the Legion. And this is before, in the 80s, when they retconned Superboy out of the comics history. Sorry.
Well, while we're going deep into the comics, Streaky, the super cat.
Yes.
I loved that.
Yes. There is a Streaky.
Oh, I have a little, I don't even know what you'd call it. It's an action toy that has Superman, Supergirl, Streaky, and Crypto, the Superdog?
Yeah, Crypto the Superdog.
Flying around Metropolis, just in a constant circle. But I have a Streaky toy in my collection. So
that's great.
Streaky. I could watch Kara sit and just pet that cat. Good acting on the cat's part too. Very chill cat. I was impressed.
Yeah. Next up, we got to wait for Comet, the super horse. And Beppo, the super monkey. You think I'm kidding?
No.
And I don't think we'll ever get Ace the Bat Hound. It's true. It's all true. This was in the 50s and 60s when the Otto Bender is like, let's just do everything crazy. Everyone has dogs, cats, animals. There are 7 different types of kryptonite.
Is his colors? The black kryptonite, the red kryptonite, the green kryptonite.
There's like blue kryptonite that's against Bizarro, and then you've got like white and diamond kryptonite. They all do different things.
Well, sure.
Yeah. Cool.
Here's some fun trivia. According to Twitter, the sound of Alex's tibia getting snapped in half is a recording of Supergirl writer Katie Rogers eating Ruffles potato chips. I thought that was funny. If the writing room of Supergirl is to be believed, that was the sound of Ruffles.
Wow. Any other news from Supergirl this week?
Well, just one last point I wanted to make was just I usually love Kara's eye beams, like the laser beams, but I really loved this week's. The screaming, that last big laser eye push to get through that door with everything exploding around her in the apartment and the confetti and the sparks. I thought that was dramatic and lovely and I like that. It was a great visual. That's all.
Yeah. That felt a lot like in the Flash when Barry got trapped in the Speed Force the first time. Although I did like the setup, and how they had her in that room. She worked her way out of it. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And it was very thematic with the season. I do think that human versus alien thing, they're hitting it really hard, but they're staying consistent with it. It's been the through line. I'll allow it. They do need to drop in a line about where Superman is though. I don't want Superman to come in and save the day. I don't want this to turn into the Superman show, but there's a Kryptonian on the loose. Couldn't somebody say, oh, Superman, it's too bad he's in the Phantom Zone right now doing whatever Superman does in the Phantom Zone, just because otherwise I would think he would be there. If you've introduced him into the universe, you kind of need to say, why is he not here helping the DEO since Kara's out of commission? Yeah. So I wish they would have taken just 10 seconds to be like, well, can't use Clark, Yeah.
Metallo's been an asshole this week.
All right. News. Okay. So this week's episode, which I'm super looking forward to because it looks like some girl power going to Fort Roz, but there's a little bit more girl power than I realized at first, only this time it's adult woman power, in that it guest stars Sarah Douglas, who you might know as Ursa from Superman 1 and 2.
Ooh, I'm excited. That's cool.
And if you're like me and you've seen Superman 1 and 2 a million times, but you don't remember any names, that would be one of the evil Kryptonians who come to subjugate Earth, right?
Yeah. She was the
with Zod.
Yeah, she was the lady in the of the three supervillains. Mm-hmm.
She was so elegant,
Yes.
man. That bone structure.
Yeah, she wanted to go to the planet Houston.
But she is going to guest star as Jindak Kal-Raz, presumably the warden at Fort Ross.
Ooh.
So that's fun. I love it when they cast people who have those kinds of connections. That's really cool. Speaking of the arc of the season, Melissa Benoist talked a little bit about will Kara find out that Sam is Rain? Is that going to happen in the show? And her in the interview, she says, the arc of the season is this identity crisis for every character. So if and when Kara finds out, it's definitely going to be part of the journey. And because Supergirl thinks that everybody deserves a second chance, that people can change and be better and be the hero, if she does find out, she's going to try to help Sam as much as she can.
All right.
What do you think? Is she doomed to fail or will she succeed?
Oh, no, it's over. Like, she doesn't have a shot. But it's going to be nice to see that, she's going to get an A for effort,
Well, and what kind of character building will that do if Supergirl really does fail in a rehab mission or in I believe in second chances? Why are you murdering my friends? Wait, what? What does that do to Supergirl and Kara moving forward? I have no idea what they have planned, but that could be compelling stories. Let's see. The January 29th episode, Jimmy's back as Guardian.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's the episode where Lena and Morgan Edge, their feud explodes. So I guess it kind of makes sense that you'd have Guardian if Lena's threatened or something like that and she and Jimmy are a thing. You can kind of see it. I wish him well, that actor and that character, but I wish him more interesting. Whatever it takes. And then ending on an up note, Laurie Metcalf has been on the Supergirl set. If you'll recall, we reported several episodes ago that she has been cast as Wynn's mother. And in fact, episode 314 is Shot Through the Heart, shot as in Wynn, shot. So presumably that's what she's filming. And she and her daughter are both huge fans of the show. I always love it when parents are like, my kid loves this show. So that's nice.
That's great. All right.
Let's see. That's it for Supergirl. Any other thoughts there?
Yeah. If you like Laurie Metcalf, go see Lady Bird.
That's on my list. I think I'm gonna hopefully this week I'll get a chance to watch that.
In that movie, she reminds me very much of my mother.
Aw.
But yeah. All right. So let's move on to Tuesday, and we talk about The Flash. Season 4, episode 10, The Trial of the Flash. Barry went on trial for the murder of Clifford DeVoe, and despite the mounds of evidence against him, Barry refused to take the stand and reveal that he is the Flash. Marlize DeVoe felt weird getting used to Clifford now being in Dominic's body, and Ralph caught pics of them kissing. The team tracked a clueless metahuman giving off nuclear radiation, causing everyone he came in contact with to pass out. Last-minute reveal, after being convicted, Barry was brought to his cell in Iron Heights and found a carving on the wall that read, Henry Allen was here.
Oh, I hated this episode. I hated it. How did you feel?
Yeah.
It's just, listen, there are lawyers literally lying on the ground like rotten apples that fall from a tree. Pick one of them up and say, look at this script and tell me where are the biggest plot holes. Not all of the plot holes, just the ones that make even people without law degrees say, wait a second, what? Wait, what? This was bad. This was so bad. I'm not a lawyer. I'm married to a defense attorney. I would have done a better job than Cecile, aka television's worst lawyer.
Well,
oh my God.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm the son of a prosecutor. So yeah.
Wait, how are we friends? Aren't we sworn enemies? Aren't we like natural predators to one another? Anyway.
yeah, I had all the same issues.
It was incredibly rushed. The verdict, the trial, the verdict, and the sentencing basically all on the same day. No, Iris bursting into court, just tits a flopping around. Sorry, I don't mean to dress shame her, but like, cover up. You're in court. Sorry. Bursting in, interrupting everything. The judge doesn't hold her in contempt. The judge is like, "Oh, okay, you can just talk in my courtroom. That's fine, young lady. No problem." No. Cecile asking a question about the dude kissing Marlize without knowing the answer, and then without going hard in, "Oh, we'll take your word for it that this was a consensual relationship and that there was no weirdness on his part that might make him kill your husband. Okay, cool. That's fine. No further questions. The defense rests without mounting any defense at all." Oh my God, Ed. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I get that they needed to get Barry in prison. Fine. But
yeah. I was really disappointed that this was only one episode. Like, I felt like this trial should have been drawn out over a couple of episodes.
And, you could have even had some light moments, some fun with it, because Cisco hacked Barry's ankle monitor. So you really could have had some Barry's supposed to be here, and so he has to rush back because the cops are checking or whatever. I mean, there were things they could have done to make a 3-episode or a 4-episode trial arc have lightness and levity along with the serious stuff. But I didn't need this to turn into Law and Order, but at least Law and Order generally got things pretty much right,
Yeah. I think part of it's just, the procedure, everything else. Like, I would have even preferred they have like a couple of episodes building up to the trial, like as they're, doing discovery and all of that. Especially for a show that's not a legal drama, that all of a sudden we're decided we're going to have a trial.
Or maybe vague would have been better. Maybe just montages set to music where we see people talking but don't hear them. I think it might have been better to just intuit what was happening, because what was happening was so stupid. And yes, I realize we're talking about a comic book show and we're not watching it for legal accuracy, but there's just some things that you just can't ignore. I'm sorry, Flash. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Isn't Cecile the DA?
Yeah, there's that too. She took a leave of absence in order to defend Barry, but that's not going to fly at all.
Yeah.
So I have a friend, and this is Illinois and not Central City, but I have a friend who had gotten a job as a prosecutor, assistant state's attorney is what we call him here, but couldn't take it because he had represented a couple of years ago somebody who was facing trial in the county. And they were like, "Sorry, man, we can't give you this job. Oh, you sold your practice? Sorry, you're going to have to start over." I mean, that's how strict they are about ethics and things like that. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Like Prometheus from Arrow should have come back from the dead and been his attorney. That would have been a better attorney. The zombified corpse.
Well, also just the fact that there's no defense. Like, you don't even call back any of the other witnesses,
Find Dominic, who she was kissing in that picture, and cross-examine him. You don't have to put Barry on the stand. I don't know that they would have been that surprised as a jury that the guy accused of murder isn't going to testify. That happens pretty often.
Yeah.
You could let Barry testify in the narrative, and that way he could just kind of do what he's going to do.
Yeah. I also like that, there's this whole thing where the prosecutor is just showing off all of this evidence to the jury, and there's no acknowledgement that he's discussing it with a witness.
Yeah. And also, I don't know, the whole line of arguing, "Oh, he was late 72 times, so he is the worst dude on earth." I don't think being late makes you a murderer. I don't think. Last I checked, the last time I was late, it's pretty often. I never murdered anybody. It was just a weird jump to make. And it was also kind of a waste of Mark Valley, who I typically enjoy, but I'm so irritated with everybody involved in this crap fest that, I don't know, man. Mark Valley.
Yeah. So we had a metahuman this week.
Who was also an afterthought. I mean.
Yeah. Fallout. And it's so, I think it's really stupid, the idea that guy didn't realize that everyone was passing out, once they got in within 5 feet of them, until like 3 days after they discovered this is a thing.
Yeah, he must be really oblivious all the time. If they'd made him a teenager who never looked up from his phone and always had his headphones, I shouldn't say teenager. If you'd made him anybody who never looks up from his phone and has headphones in and just is oblivious to the world, that I could see. But this is a person walking around with eyes and ears intact, and he doesn't notice people just dropping.
Yeah. Yeah. The guy's a driver who delivers nuclear waste.
By the way, the internet tells me that there was kind of a fun Easter egg in here with Earth 15. Did you catch this? The dead Earth that Wells says, hey,
oh yes,
portal that through, that is in DC Comics a peaceful, blissful planet that was killed by evil Superman from Earth Prime.
Okay, yeah.
So that was a fun little Easter egg if you happen to like that kind of thing. But I do have one bit of praise. I loved the Ralph Dibny stuff this week. I loved it. When Ralph is the one who talks Joe down from the ledge, and at first he's like, yeah, go ahead and do it. Go ahead. And then you realize, oh, that's what he's talking about. And it was a well done little piece of character work. I really loved it. It was the only thing I liked was Ralph Dibny, and I never thought I'd say that.
I liked that scene where Ralph basically talks him out of planting the evidence.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's also nice to see him have that turn, to see that, okay, that character does have depth.
Well, and I think we're heading into a big Ralph Dibny episode this week, so it's a great way to set that up. But no, I super loved that whole speech that he did outside of the DeVoe house. Oh, really good. So as irritated as I was by everything, by Iris getting ready to tell Barry's secret, that's not your decision, woman. Sit down. That's Barry's decision and Barry's decision only. Yeah. All of them. Good grief. I did love everybody in the audience or in the stands just glaring at Marlise DeVoe. If I was on the jury and I saw Barry's family and loved ones glaring at the widow of the person he's accused of murdering, I'd be like, what is wrong with those people? Oh my God, what jerks. Like, they needed to work on their poker faces a little bit, but they just stared death at her for the entire trial, which only lasted like half an hour, so it was no big deal. But God, this episode.
All right. Any other grievances? Anything else?
Oh, I could keep going, but no, I think we'd best. Your Honor, I rest my case.
All right.
I just mounted a better defense than Cecile did.
All right. So,
why? No, I'm not done. Why would he go to Barry's apartment if Barry had a restraining order? Why would he do that? Where was the wheelchair? Why did the entire police force yeah, Barry's a pretty bad guy? Like, is there nobody who just... Okay, news. Are you ready for news?
Let's do some news.
Okay. So apparently somebody at the Flash has been listening to our podcast because they've given Ralph a new costume.
Oh, thank God.
And it looks really good from the stills that I've seen. So I'm happy for him. He got rid of that weird bodysuit. Like body stocking.
Yeah.
So I believe we'll see that this week. I'm not 100% sure when it debuts, but keep your eyes out for a new Ralph costume. Let's see. A couple of episodes ago, we reported that WWE wrestler Bill Goldberg had been cast in The Flash. We now know that he's going to be playing Big Sur. That's Big S-I-R, not S-U-R. He is a character from the 80s comics. It sounds like kind of a minor character, but he's going to be a fellow inmate with Barry, and it looks like maybe taking Barry kind of under his wing, protecting him, but looks can be deceiving. I have no idea. So he's going to be a fellow prisoner.
I'm up for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Maybe Barry in prison will be awesome, and it will make up for the travesty of Barry on trial. Keep the faith. Katie Sackhoff's Amunet Black will return on February 6th. The episode is True Colors. And in that episode, Barry's going to have to decide whether to reveal his powers in order to save his cellmates. And Ralph, as the person on the outside, has to step up.
Ooh.
Okay. Presumably because Amunet Black is acting up. I assume Barry's always going to have to decide whether to reveal his powers. That's just going to be a thing now that we have to do all the time. This was reported at comicbook.com, and they guessed that we might have a kind of a big role for Warden Wolf, Warden of Iron Heights Penitentiary, who's played by Richard Brooks from Law & Order, who maybe could have helped with that trial. Hey, I was on Law & Order for a couple of seasons. Let me tell you, I have some notes.
Oh, yeah. That's who that guy was. Yeah. I was trying to figure who is that guy and why wasn't he? Oh, you're right.
I feel like just by virtue of being on the Law & Order set, he could have done a better job of crafting that episode.
Yeah. Well, also, Jesse L. Martin standing right behind you. I know he was a cop on that show, but still.
Yeah.
And Richard Brooks and Jesse L. Martin were not on Law & Order at the same time. but
But probably an episode featuring both men is running right now on different basic cable channels. So if you turn on the TV and just flip around, you'll see both of them at some point. So.
Yes.
Finally, this week, the Washington Post ran a really nice article about Candace Patton, who, of course, plays Iris. It just talks about, I didn't see anything necessarily newsworthy or groundbreaking that I wanted to report, other than the fact that I think it's awesome when mainstream media like the Washington Post does stories about these CW shows, these DC shows that we love. This one really talked a lot about how her casting as a woman of color ruffled some feathers, because that's not how it is in the comic, and how she dealt with that and how she's pleased about kind of the legacy that's leaving. But no, I thought that was really cool that the Washington Post is spreading some love Flash's way. Maybe not the best week to do it episode wise, but good on you, Candace. Good on you, Washington Post.
There you go. Thanks.
All right. Moving on. Black Lightning.
All right. Black Lightning. Here we go, everybody.
All right. Series premiere, The Resurrection. 9 years after leaving his superhero persona of Black Lightning behind, Jefferson had become the principal of Garfield High School, working to make the school a safe haven from gang violence in the city of Freeland. Jefferson's oldest daughter, Anissa, a teacher at Garfield, was arrested for staging a protest against police brutality. Jefferson's younger daughter, Jennifer, snuck out to a club and flirted with Will, a member of the 100 gang. After being pressured by the 100, Will kidnapped Anissa and Jennifer, pushing Jefferson to bring Black Lightning out of retirement. Last minute reveal, Anissa woke up in the middle of the night hearing voices and, in her frustration, was able to shatter the bathroom sink in half.
Now,
all right, new show. What did you think?
Show. Wow. This was very impressive.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if you kind of read some of the reviews, but pretty much everybody liked it. I mean, every review I've read has been incredibly positive, but this one, I saw one that described it as social awareness and swagger. And I thought that was such a perfect description of this show. Because it is very socially aware, but it does it with style. I mean, it's good storytelling, amazing soundtrack that I'm not nearly cool enough to comment on.
Yeah.
But so great. Just such a different tone and feel, because you have a grown up, a man who understands his power, understands his community. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch, because it was such a departure from sort of the brand new powers. How do I do this? Oh my gosh. This girl I like just talked to me. It's so different. I loved it.
Yeah, this reminds me, there was a Black Lightning Year One story that came out maybe about 10 years ago. It's definitely in trade paperback, and this harkens back. That's my main experience with Black Lightning, and this harkens back to a lot of that. This is a hero who is working on a micro scale.
Mm-hmm.
He's not trying to save the world. He's just trying to save his little corner of the city. And I like the idea that, Black Lightning is a last resort. It's not his go-to. He doesn't want to have to bring it out. He doesn't want to bring it out. It just, at a certain point, he has no choice.
Well, and we see the repercussions of it. We see that it cost him his marriage, and you understand why he put it away, and you understand what drives him to bring it back out again. So it's just a little more rooted in reality, I say, about a show where a dude harnesses lightning. But you see what I'm saying?
Definitely. And you had a lot of different characters that they introduced, but this wasn't as exposition heavy as I thought it was going to be, as most pilots are, I feel.
Yeah, it kind of dropped you into the world, and it let you keep up, and it did a nice job of laying the groundwork. I never felt lost, but I didn't feel like I was being spoon-fed. Like, nobody stopped and looked at the camera and said, Jefferson, this is like that time 5 years ago when, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
And I was really grateful for that. I love the relationship with his ex-wife. I mean, there's still a lot of spark and chemistry there. And I wonder how that relationship will evolve. My favorite scene, honestly, was the scene of him jogging with his daughters. Everybody smiling, everybody happy. It just made me feel good to watch these strong women and this strong man in this well-drawn community. I loved it.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, my dear friend and favorite human being, Tanya Melendez, messaged me and said that she was a little concerned, Ed, that you and I are super white. And so she sent us a list of things that we are allowed to mock. She is my sensitivity consultant, and she says we are allowed to mock these things. Are you ready?
Okay.
The kid who dropped a baggie full of drugs on the floor in public, mock that.
Okay.
The fact that Jefferson's youngest is still in high school and sneaking into clubs to smoke weed in public with gang members when her dad is a principal and she's clearly upper middle class, mockable. Mm-hmm. That child does not smoke weed in public. She vapes at house parties with boys she's known since kindergarten. A gang member storming the high school, mock that. Also mockable, if the police know someone kidnapped a student and a teacher from a high school, the state mobilizes. It's not just local police at that point. But that said, she super, super loved it. She says the pluses on the show are plentiful. She liked and I agree with this, that, he called out how come if it's a white guy, it's a superhero. If it's a black guy, it's a vigilante. And I thought that was cool. If you forget about everything that happens on Arrow, because they use vigilante a lot on the Green Arrow. But that's okay. That's okay. I see the point. I get it. I get what they're talking about in terms of real media coverage when you talk about thug versus protester, when you talk about riot versus rally. There's a lot of ways that language is used against the Black community, and I love that they pointed that out. And the last thing my sensitivity consultant Tanya said, and thank you for allowing me to talk about Black Lightning, is this is Batman who's not doing this as therapy. Which I loved. This is a mentally healthy Batman who's doing it not out of some weird, twisted drive. And I thought that was a great point. So thank you, Tanya.
Yeah, and I think that's initially why he stopped doing it. Mm-hmm. Was because he realized that he was doing it a little bit for the glory and not for the right reasons, and he wasn't getting the right results. Mm-hmm. So he changed tactics. He became a principal. I also like the fact that, that Garfield is kind of a haven because he's actually gone out and made this agreement.
Yeah.
With the 100, to kind of leave the school alone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like the way they set up the understanding there. And it was kind of interesting, the conversation my husband and I had when we were watching it. He was so frustrated that when the gang member comes up to the high school, he's like, why is he not calling the cops? This is the logical thing to do. And it's kind of interesting, the different ways that we view those things. And I kind of said, I'm wondering if it has something to do with the overall relationship with the police force. And that's just not how he wants to handle that. And sure enough, that was described in the show a little bit, that, we have this agreement. I didn't want to escalate things, but it's just kind of interesting. I think if you're playing this to an audience that is going to have people of all backgrounds, it is going to, I think, challenge some of those assumptions that we come into it with in terms of, why aren't you handling it this way? Oh, well, that's because your relationship with that civic institution is totally different than mine. So this is how you've decided to handle it with the people that you surround yourself with. So yeah, this is Justice Hour.
Yeah. And, in terms of characters, I thought Will was an idiot.
Yeah.
What a moron. But I guess people like that exist in the world. There
are a couple of idiots out there. You work with the public, this.
Yes. But Lala, the middle management of the 100. Yes. I thought it was interesting that they developed this character and you feel like he's a thing, and then at the end Tobias Whale just freaking harpoons him.
Yep. Nice verb choice. Well, and I like that because it kind of keeps you on your toes with this show moving forward. Oh, we're going to do that, are we? Okay.
Yeah. Who has a spear gun?
I'm sorry, you don't have a spear gun? My spear gun is on my lap right now. So I don't know how you're recording this podcast in your house, but
yeah. And what did you think of Peter Gamby, James Remar?
Why is he always the mentor guy? What is with that? He was Dexter's dad. I feel like he's always old mentor guy. He was Cephalo in the Shannara Chronicles. He was Eritrea's mentor. I mean, that's just the role that he plays, is wise old guy who dispenses wisdom.
Well, remember, he first came onto the scene as the bad guy in 48 Hours.
Yeah, I think of him as the bad boyfriend of Samantha Jones on Sex and the City, and that is the most embarrassing thing I'm going to say tonight.
James Remar, character actor, long and storied career. He's one of those guys, like, when he shows up in a movie, you'll be like, okay, we'll be okay. Like,
yeah, that's right. It might not be good, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, like, or at least the next, 5 minutes, we're gonna be okay.
Until he's, shot in the chest or disappears somehow.
Yeah. And I like the idea that that Jefferson just decides on a whim, okay, all right, I think it's time, and then you realize that he's still been working on this costume and this armor for the last 9 years. Like, he never stopped. Like, he was just as obsessed.
That's kind of Batman-like, actually.
Yeah. But lots to like from this show. Very interested to see where this goes. And
I have some information about where it's going to go if we're ready to transition into news.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So it looks like the driving storyline this season is going to be the introduction of a new drug into the community called green light. And it's going to be the crux of the season in terms of, according to the executive producer, in terms of how drugs enter a community, how a community is exploited. And then Black Lightning works himself up the food chain to discover where it comes from and who put it there. And, Ed, you and I were talking about this before we hit record, but it seems like a lot of times on like Arrow, there's some new drug that's being smuggled into the city and we have to take it down, and they take care of it by the end of the episode and we move on next week. And I love that this is going to really look at, it almost feels like The Wire. Like, The Wire looked at systematic issues prevalent in society, in different cultural institutions, social institutions. I wonder if it's going to be a little bit more like that, where it doesn't just have this easy fix of, oh, we cut off the drug supply, we arrested the dealer, that's it, we'll move on. This is really going to say it's not that easy as arresting one guy. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That's cool. And it's green light.
Green light.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking of other DC characters who use green light, and I keep thinking like there's a connection here when there probably isn't.
Like the light that maybe comes from a lantern?
Maybe.
Let's see.
Like that's how they're going to bring them into this?
I did not see that coming. The February 6th episode is called Black Jesus, which in the premiere we learned is Jefferson Pierce's nickname. And an interview with Nafessa Williams, who plays Anissa, says that she wants to be just like her father, her character. And so that's, I think, obviously going to be where she heads based on what we saw at the end of the premiere here. But she said of her costume that the first time she put it on, she cried. She said, it was so emotional because I have never had a superhero who looked like me. Realizing that I was about to become that for little black girls everywhere was overwhelming. And that gets me every time when people, just that, I've said it before, but representation is so, so, so important. And I think that's amazing that, we have that in this show, and that this actress realizes how defining and important this role is going to be. So I wish nothing but good things for this show, and I hope it remains as entertaining and fun, but also, kind of thoughtful as the premiere was.
Cool.
Oh, and one more thing. In an interview with Cress Williams, who plays Jefferson Pierce, he was asked, how does Jefferson not kill immediately? Because he, channels electricity. So how does he not just zap everybody dead? And he said, I love this metaphor. It's kind of like a pencil. Like, you can have a really light touch with the pencil and have very delicate sketching, or you can press really hard with the pencil and have dark strokes. And that is like his power. There's no news out of that. I just really love the metaphor.
just make sure Heath Ledger is nowhere near that pencil.
Hey-o. Because he will. And you know what? I can't associate that with Heath Ledger anymore. I associate it with Dwight Schrute from The Office, because that's, I don't know. That's just...
Cool. That's great. We got a new show on the horizon. Is any more thoughts on Black Lightning? We ready to move on to Arrow?
I think we're ready to move on to Arrow.
All right. So, season 6, episode 10, Divided. Caden James and company leaned on Jerry Bertinelli to take over the racket he operates at his pier. Quentin hired Thea as his new chief of staff and confided in her his hope that Black Siren might not be a lost cause. After getting fired, Renee learned yearned to recant his testimony and asked Curtis to try hacking the FBI's evidence in the case. Vigilante began convicting criminals to turn themselves in instead of killing them, and began to rekindle his relationship with Dinah. Felicity and Diggle discovered the orrery was bugged, and Oliver discovered all of his least favorite people were in league with James. Last minute reveal: Felicity tried Curtis's last microchip on Diggle, and the tremors in his hands went away.
That was a busy episode.
Yeah. I had to use all 6 of my highlighters during this episode.
Come on, you loved it. You loved using all 6 of your highlighters. Okay, so let me tell you what I have no time for this week. Renee, Dinah, and Curtis. Goodbye.
No.
No. This is not Captain America Civil War. I am not invested in Team Arrow versus Team whatever they're going to call themselves. Are we supposed to root for Renee? Are we supposed to root for Dinah? Like, are they really thinking that we're going to be like, yeah, they had a rough shake, they should start their own team? No, I don't feel that way. Do you feel that way?
I mean,
are we supposed to feel that way?
I think this is a case of Oliver's chickens coming to roost.
Yeah.
To be fair, he did lie to them.
He did, but they lied to him. I mean, and I don't mean to make this a eye for an eye makes the world blind, right? And that's why I was kind of excited when they had that scene where they said, we all made mistakes, blank slate. Do you want to start over? And they were like, nah, screw you, man. We're going to start our own. Really? Okay. I get why Renee did what he did, but tell Oliver, they're threatening my kid. They have all this evidence on me. I don't know what else to do. I don't know. Just to get mad at Oliver for tracking and for lying and things. And when, Curtis planted a tracker on Felicity, and everything about this irritated me. Yeah.
I think this is just the kind of thing where they've had so much in and outs, especially the fact that, they got the intel about everyone working together and that everything's been bugged and they didn't tell them right away.
Yeah.
I think this is just a kind of thing where, sometimes, heads clash and really talented people just can't work together. And
it's why we have screaming matches off air all the time.
Yes. Yeah. That's not true.
No.
but to be honest, especially working in through my dalliances in the world of community theater, you do come across some talented people who are just insufferable.
Yeah. This is true.
And I think they wanted it to do it their own way. This is the same as, in a small business, when you have employees who work for you for years and years and you don't reward them after a while, or they feel like they're not being treated properly and that they can do it better than you, they want to give themselves a shot. So they're,
Mm-hmm. So they're gonna. Mm-hmm. But think about this. If you had not those 3 characters, but if you had Thea and Quentin and Roy say, you know what, we don't like the way Oliver's handling this, we're going to set up our own superhero shop, I'd be much more invested in that, because those are characters I like a little more and who have more history and more understandable development. And I feel like that would be a much more interesting conflict than these, they're still pretty new and we're still kind of rocky with some of them. Curtis is the one that I like the most, and I thought he was probably the worst behaved in this episode. So yeah. Anyway, but the other thing I will say is, can you picture though the comedy along the lines of Powerless, which sadly is no more, about competing crime fighters who compete with each other so much that just they let crime happen all the time. Oh yeah. But that tickled me. I thought that would be.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, that's like the basic setup for Kingdom Come. Is that, it's all the superheroes' grandkids who are, just fight each other because there are no supervillains left to catch. But I'm interested to see. I on Twitter through the DCTV report, I dubbed this new team the B Team.
For sure.
So I doubt that's what they'll call themselves.
Did you mean B for bitches? Because
I just meant they're not the A Team.
Yeah, no, I got it. I got it.
Beef bitches.
Yeah, sorry. That said, I did enjoy seeing original Team Arrow back together. It was just a lot of fun to see that original dynamic of Oliver, Felicity, and Diggle. Also, I gotta say, the very end when John, his tremor is under control and he picks up his gun, it was the most like USA. He was so excited to have his gun again. He's firing his gun. He's happy. I was like, yeah, this is the most like proto-American thing that has ever happened.
Yeah. I still don't know if that's enough. I feel like, yeah, I feel like you want to walk around for a couple months.
Yeah, maybe don't just pick up a weapon right away and just start shooting it around the Arrow Cave.
Yeah. Like, wasn't he like this close to being paralyzed at one point?
Yeah, well, you don't understand. He has a chip now. He has a chip.
Oh, he's a chip.
They fix everything.
Yeah. Yeah. What do we think of Caden James' plan?
Listen, if we're talking about the hero pitted against the really intelligent villain, I like Caden James a million times more than I like the Thinker over on Flash. I'm so much enjoying Michael Emerson's performance and the character of Caden James way more than I'm enjoying the Thinker. And that comparison, I think it's kind of cool that they have this parallel with the show this year between Flash and Arrow's bad guys. I love it. I'm enjoying the steps ahead. I'm enjoying not really knowing what his end game is. I like him corralling all these disparate people. I think there would be more infighting. I assume supervillains all have big egos. Yeah. And I feel like your Richard Dragon isn't going to just be a side character like that. He's going to be like, I'm in charge. I'm the law. So I don't know why I made him Judge Dredd there. But I don't know how he's keeping them all under control, but I am enjoying that performance very much. But then I just like Michael Emerson. He's just got great cerebral menace to me. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think the way things are going, it's funny. I almost feel like Black Canary. I don't know. Like, it's funny because she's the only superpowered one of the group, and she feels like the least important.
Yeah. Do you mean Black Siren?
Black Siren. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of Black Canary too. Well, no, that's not fair. I may be annoyed with the character, but I generally have liked that character in the past. So that's kind of why I'm frustrated this week. Are you interested in the redemption of the Black Siren? Or do you like her evil?
I'll leave it to be seen. I think it's a good idea for Quentin. But based on what we've seen from Katie Cassidy's performance so far, I don't see it yet.
Yeah, they've given us no layers of vulnerability. You saw a little bit of it in season 5 in a couple of those episodes, maybe just one of those episodes that she was in. But you're right, they haven't really shown us any propensity for regret or anything like that. She got hit with a lot of arrows this week. A lot of trick arrows were designed for her. So I don't know if that's what they're going to do. They haven't really set it up on her end quite yet. And they'd have to earn that a little bit more, I think, if they're going to do that.
Yeah. And who is the actor who played Jerry Bertinelli this week?
I IMDb'd him because he looked really familiar, but he's one of those who has like 125 entries, and I was like, I'm not going to go through all this.
No. Do you know the actor's name?
Oh, no. God, no.
Oh, Louis Ferreira. Okay. He if you remember Breaking Bad.
I do.
In the he's the guy who Walter White tells to say my name.
That's him. That's awesome.
That's him. Heisenberg. He was great. And the Bertinelli, we see that the Bertinelli Mafia is on its last legs.
Does that mean the Huntress is going to come back in and kick things into gear?
I hope so. I'm really like, I mean, could it happen? I think it should happen. Especially like, because I thought that she had some great stuff in season 2. I mean, that was when Sara was just coming back as Black Canary. I thought and that's a character we haven't seen in about 4 years. So
yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I want to know what's going up now. We haven't heard anything in terms of casting or anything, have we? That she's coming back?
No, I haven't heard anything. And I assumed that throwaway line about where is she? Oh, she's out of town just meant actress not available. Is kind of my assumption.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame to like throw that name out and then It's like Chekhov putting the gun on the table and then not firing it by the third act.
That's right. You gotta fire it by the third act.
So
I would like to have seen Felicity and Oliver act a little bit more married, just like a kiss hello. But I guess if you need to reassure the fans who hate Felicity that it's not going to change things too much to have them married, fine, I guess. But I would have liked a little bit more,
Yeah, and we didn't have any Will in this episode. Not that there was room for him.
Yeah, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah. It sounds like we had reported that he's going to be in jeopardy coming up, and I think that might. But it's the next couple episodes, I think. So we'll have a big Will episode, I'm guessing, really soon.
All right, cool. What news do we have on Arrow this week?
A couple little bits. An interview with Echo Killam, who plays Curtis / Mr. Terrific, talks about the new team that they've just formed. He said it's not going to be one leader; it's going to be more of a democracy, and he promises that fans are going to be torn about which team to root for. Lies. That's not true. He also said that his character is going to step up his romance game a little bit. If you recall, his husband left him last season because he wouldn't give up his vigilante ways. And so it looks like he's going to maybe re-enter the dating pool. So it sounds like they are putting a really good spin on the team split. And I think they think maybe the audience is more invested in it than they are, but
I don't know. You're playing this down. I'm actually.
Am I being too negative?
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays out. I like the idea that all of a sudden Oliver's going to have some competition, and you have two groups who are basically have the same goal, but they don't like each other, so they're going to go about it in different ways. And to see, like, do they hide intelligence from each other, or how do they approach taking down Kate and James?
I guess I'd be more excited if I was less irritated with the characters who've split off. I just feel like Renee handled his stuff badly. Dinah handled her stuff badly, lying about Vigilante and keeping secrets after she got all up in everybody's face about secrets. And Curtis, I know Curtis isn't always popular. I like Curtis. I've always been somebody who enjoyed Curtis and his humor and his asides and things like that. But he also kind of stretched my patience this week. So if I was more excited about the people on the opposing team, I'd be more excited about this storyline. But if they write them a little bit more even keel, and we do, as you say, if we do get to see do they hide, do they get in the way, do they interfere with each other's ops on accident or on purpose, that could be a lot of fun. And I would enjoy that. I just wish that people didn't have to act quite as dumb as they did to get there, I guess, is my problem. Yeah. Anyway, Stephen Amell gave an interview and talked about acting with William, the actor who plays William. He said that some of his best stuff has been with that actor and getting to play off the son-father dynamic. Son-father, that's an awkward way to say that. The father-son dynamic. This, I thought, was noteworthy that they get the scenes and they kind of work on it together because the writers tend to write William a little bit too young. And that was one of my complaints in, I think, the premiere. William felt really young, and by a couple of episodes later, he felt much more appropriately aged in his responses. So you could see an improvement in how he was written. And if that's because Stephen Amell and Jack, the kid actor, work together, great. They're doing well. Don't stop that.
Cool.
Let's see. February 8th episode, The Devil's Greatest Trick. Caden James is going to discover a Green Arrow secret. I was unaware that Green Arrow had secrets left to discover, but apparently so. And if you're someone who likes to look at pictures, Men's Health did a story on Juliana Harkavy, who plays Dinah / Black Canary. So if you go to Men's Health and Google her name, you'll see kind of a talk about her workout routine. And I know she is incredibly fit. She posts a lot of her workout pictures on her social media accounts. Some of the pictures are what you would expect from Men's Health doing a feature on an attractive female actress. But man, she is tough, she is fit, and she is rather an inspiration. So if that's floats your boat, check it out.
All right. So I think moving on to news from other shows that didn't air this week.
Yeah, let's keep going on the CW DC verse with Legends of Tomorrow. Big news, big casting news. Keenan Lonsdale, aka Kid Flash, aka Wally West, will become a series regular on the Wave Rider.
Yes, called it.
So we knew he was gonna. We knew he was going to guest star. That had been released, but yeah, he's going to fill that chair that was vacated by Dr. Stein and Jax. And they're going to have their own speedster.
I was also thinking, because remember, Jax was their mechanic. And Wally does have engineering experience, so
That's true. That's true. He's mechanically minded. Yeah, cool. So I'm excited for that. That Wally just always felt a little directionless on Arrow. It just didn't have quite enough for him to do. So I hope that they use him well over on Legends. Let's see. Speaking of Legends, an upcoming episode is going to go back in time to when Barack Obama was a college student.
okay.
I am looking forward to that, but also kind of dreading the political commentary that will follow in the comments and on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on how thick they lay it on. I could see this kind of being like what they did with George Lucas last year.
Yeah, where he just kind of walks on and they're like, hey, but I think you are underestimating the ferocity of the outcry anytime anything even whispers close to politics. I speak as the recapper for Supergirl, which does have thematic issues pretty often that deal with real world politics, and the rabid, angry responses that come from really innocuous stuff is kind of shocking. So I anticipate a lot of, why are you cramming your politics down my throat? But I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what they do with it. Will it be a tiny part? Will it be something larger? Will you find somebody who does a good impression? Will you cast Jordan Peele because he does such a great Obama? I can't wait to see. He's too old for Obama in college. I don't care. His Obama impression is flawless. So, and just a reminder, in general, Legends of Tomorrow is going to be back on February 12th. It will take over Supergirl's spot when it goes on its weird mid-season hiatus.
All right. Cool.
Moving away from the CW to Gotham, Chris Chalk, who plays Lucius Fox, gave an interview, and he says that for the rest of the season, we're going to see the Bruce and Lucius relationship continue to develop, that Lucius will fall in love briefly.
Okay.
Briefly. And we're going to see more inventions, and he will continue his, quote, dance with the GCPD. That's an actor I think I'm always glad to see, and he has not been used particularly frequently this season, so I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more of him.
Yeah. It's funny because I think he's he supposedly like took over for Lee, or like he was doing like forensics work or stuff for them. So I'm not exactly sure what he's basically just like some kind of consultant for GCPD.
Yeah.
But
he's just not around that much, but I'm always glad to see him when he drops by. So it sounds like he's going to continue to drop by this season.
And I love his stuff with Bruce. I hope we get more scenes with him and Bruce.
Yeah, same. And I don't know, Bruce behaving badly or repentant Bruce, I think both of them would be kind of fun to see. So yeah, we'll see what the show gives us. Let's see, Lucifer. The January 29th episode is called Till Death Do Us Part, and there's going to be an undercover mission where Lucifer and Marcus Pierce go undercover as a married couple. I cannot wait. The pictures I've seen of this episode and kind of the first look photos that were released, the clothes are hilarious. Lucifer's facial expressions are hilarious. It's going to be great because those two men clearly do not like each other. They have a lengthy grudge. So that's going to be great. And what's also kind of cool is they're going undercover to catch an ecstasy cook turned chemistry teacher. So reverse Breaking Bad.
All right.
Let's see. And then as some symmetry for the Arrow news that I gave about Juliana Harkavy being featured in Men's Health, Men's Fitness did a story on Kevin Alejandro's workout. Kevin Alejandro, of course, plays Dan, Detective Douche. And, it goes a little bit heavy into like, what does he deadlift? And after he curls, what's his rest increment and whatever. But all I have to say is like, they showed pictures of him and I don't understand how he doesn't walk around shirtless in the LAPD precinct all the time, because that dude is fit. Yeah. So I don't know if he's training for something amazing that's going to come up this season, or if he's just doing it for his own health and longevity and like heart fitness and whatever. But keep it up. Good work, Kevin. But I just thought it was kind of funny that I saw two different DC TV people featured in fitness magazines this week. So I thought I'd point that out.
You ever think maybe like when he's in like a medium shot, he'll like slowly start pulling up his shirt, and then all of a sudden it has to become like a close up.
That would be amazing.
Always there.
But he's just not playing that kind of character right now, who is the super buff guy.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting if they pivoted toward that.
Yeah.
So that is Lucifer. Let's see. Titans. There's been a little bit of casting news. Seamus Dever from Castle and Legion is going to have a recurring role on Titans, but we don't know what yet. That is all I have for you on Titans.
Okay.
He was the blonde cop on Castle.
Okay. I did not watch Castle, and it says here he was in Legion too. We don't know who he was in Legion.
I don't remember him from Legion. He was probably one of the cops, is my guess, on Legion. That kind of is who he plays, I think. I don't remember him as anybody with powers necessarily. But honestly, with Legion, I was always looking at every corner of the screen because everything about Legion was so beautiful that I very easily could have overlooked him because I was just dazzled by everything happening on the screen.
Noah Hawley, man. Noah Hawley. That guy.
Yeah.
Fargo, Legion, like those are really cinematic shows.
I don't want him to stretch himself too thin because I adore everything he does. And I worry sometimes when they're like, oh, well, he's doing this show and now this show. And I like both of those shows, but don't burn yourself out. Don't J.J. Abrams it and just walk away from a show to start another show. And then the show you left just withers and dies on the vine. Don't do that. So much for Titans. Watchmen. Not really news so much, but Patrick Wilson did an interview and said that he would love to play Night Owl in the HBO version. He says he hasn't been approached. I don't think anybody expects him to be approached about it. I don't think that the show is probably going to acknowledge the movie in any way. But Patrick Wilson, of course, played Dan Dreberg in the movie and said he would love to reprise that role. I think it would be kind of cool if you get him to play original Night Owl.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe, but I think even then he's still too young for that part.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's still too young. It would just be kind of cool meta. My thing though is that I love Patrick Wilson. I love name me a performance he's done, and it has never been bad. I think he's compelling. He's charismatic, good guy, bad guy, whatever you want to cast him as. I love watching him on screen. So if he would be involved somehow, I'd be really excited. I don't ever see that happening, but I like that he's game for it. Good on you, Patrick Wilson.
Yeah. And I mean, that movie was good. I mean, that is a real direct interpretation.
That's a really faithful, faithful version.
Because 300 and Watchmen are very faithful adaptations, which makes me, was even more confused as to Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. But we won't get into that.
Holland? What's the name of the original Night Owl? Holland? Something? It's been too long.
Yeah, I don't remember. That's interesting. But again, this is kind of like a non-story. It's not going to happen.
But fun to talk about. You know who he could be?
Who?
The pirate.
You have to do the pirate.
I want to do a whole episode where we just dreamcast the pirate.
Yeah. And this is the real question of that show. Because, like, to me, the superhero stuff and all that, that's easy. How do you do the pirate?
I don't know, but HBO, man, they can do the pirate. Like, they can do it. Last little bit of news. This, if you thought the Patrick Wilson thing with Watchmen was not news, this is really not news, but I love it, and I'm gonna take up time anyway. Regarding Preacher, AMC's new president of programming, David Madden, says he wants AMC to have, quote, prestige popcorn, which are thoughtful genre shows that are truly human but are immersive and fan-focused. And I am so tickled by the idea of prestige popcorn. And so if you think about it, popcorn appealing to a wide audience, fun, explosions, catchy, bouncy, your summertime tentpole superhero type movies. But then you get the prestige taken seriously, awards, good acting, deep themes, good cinematography, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, The Walking Dead, I mean, I have a lot of issues with The Walking Dead, but I think to say that it is something that has been discussed in serious circles, while it is also has been deeply popular in terms of like killing zombies and blood and guts. And if you, and that's how Preacher fits in, is that Preacher, I mean, that's prestige, a comic book, pedigree. And it does have, deeper themes and connections, and it rewards close viewing, but it is also ridiculously fun at times. So I'm so pleased by that prestige popcorn. That 100% I think is my aesthetic in terms of viewing. I love the good acting and the deeper themes, but I also really love the fun.
Yeah.
The Good Place on NBC, for example, it's a sitcom. It's popcorny, but it's prestige. I mean, there's stuff going on there. So anyway, that's prestige popcorn. There you go.
Yeah, and I think it is a popcorn munching show. Right up until the blood and gore comes in.
And then that's how you decide, is this show for me or not?
And and I like those parts, but you don't want to be eating anything when that's happening. One last bit of news that came in late last week that we missed it. But remember, DC Comics had their DC in DC event last week.
I remember that.
Yes, and at one of the panels, Jeff Johns and Greg Berlanti hinted that they're floating the idea of bringing Hitman to television.
Tell me more about Hitman.
Okay, this is not the comic book. I'm sorry, this is not the video game that the Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah, that was my first question was, is this the Timothy Olyphant movie? Apparently, no. Okay.
No. This is a comic from the mid '90s, written by Garth Ennis, who also co-created Preacher. And it's Tommy Monahan, and he's an ex-Marine who's bitten by aliens and gets X-ray vision and moderate telepathy. And he goes around, as a vigilante, doing all kinds of nasty things to get back at people who are doing bad things. Basically, imagine Punisher with a couple superpowers.
Okay.
That's the real bare bones version of it. I'm sure whoever just heard me said that's actually read those books is very upset with me right now. But if you look at it from the outside, he has black eyes, which is why he always wears sunglasses. And how Constantine, the iconic thing is that brown raincoat and the cigarette, the blonde hair. Hitman, he's got black hair, he's got the glasses, he's got this green overcoat, and blue jeans. And that's his getup. You don't even know what Hitman does, but that's Hitman whenever he shows up. And he actually operates in the DC universe. So, I think he's cordoned in this one section of Gotham City. So there's a lot of different things that they could do with that. Now they've just said they're floating the idea. There's nothing about networks or, where they're going to develop this project, or if and when it's going to happen. So this is really, really bare bones. This is thinner than V for Vendetta right now.
At least V for Vendetta had a station attached to it, the BBC, right?
Yeah. So take this with a huge grain of salt, but it shows that they're thinking, and they're thinking outside the box. They're we talked about Question came up a couple weeks ago. So there's they're going in deep into the DC archives to pull out quirky characters to get fun stories out. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's something like an iZombie, which I love. That is a pretty deep cut into DC, from what I understand. And I know it's not super faithful to the comic book, but I do kind of like it when you pull out a more obscure character, because I think you have a little bit more room to play, where if you look what happens with Gotham sometimes, if you try to play with Gotham, then you got a lot of people who are like, well, that's not, Bruce Wayne wouldn't do that. So.
All right. So that's it for the news. Now we've got our winners for the week.
Yes, mine, I have to tread a little lightly because I don't want to spoil anything, but I got to give it to John Diggle this week from Arrow, because he got to use T-spheres in a fight, and he seemed to really dig that. And who wouldn't? And then something happened that brought him such pure joy. And I'm being vague because, again, I don't want to spoil it if anybody's behind, but I enjoyed the sheer pleasure on his face when that happened. I like that actor. I like that character. And I enjoyed that moment. John Diggle, my winner of the week.
So mine is, I try to go for these themes, and I didn't run through every show, but my theme is dusted off costumes. The Legionnaires got to put on their flight rings. You know, after being frozen for a couple thousand years. And you had on Black Lightning, you know, got to bring out his costume.
Yep.
And on Arrow, you know, Wild Dog was out for a while, and you know, those guys brought in their costumes, and then Diggle at the end, we realized, okay, we haven't seen the last of Spartan.
And, you know, even Oliver had put aside his hood for a while and he suited up again too. So, yeah, you're right. We had mothballs just like rolling out of tight leather pants all over the place.
Yep. And yeah, we got a new show this week and it's really good. And, you know we don't really talk about ratings, but I did see a headline saying that this was the CW's highest rated premiere in 2 years.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah. So, so I'm really excited for the buzz on this and to see where it's going to go in the next couple of weeks, next couple months. All right, and I think that's it. I think that's the DCTV report for this week.
DCTV is back with a vengeance.
Yes. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Edward O'Hare TBD.
I'm at Sara Netzley, SaraNetzley.
And follow the show on Twitter at DCTV Report. Send along your emails to dctv@wickedtheory.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our show on your podcast app of choice. Please rate and review us if you can. That helps other people find us. And check out our sister shows, the Wicked Theory Podcast and Preacher vs. Preacher. This has been a Wicked Theory Studios production. Executive producer Bill Sweeney. Visit us at wickedtheory.com. Shazam, everybody.
Shazam.
Shazam!